I'll just do it after that. May I? Can I draw on here? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Daniel Adria, for the awesome music. Hello and welcome to New York Augmented Reality. It's amazing to have you all at our inaugural in-person event. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us this evening. And it's incredible to be amongst a group of like-minded, passionate, and talented individuals who understand the vast potential of augmented reality. So thanks for being here. Since our group first started in November 2020, it has been one of our foremost goals to meet in person so we can share meaningful connections and get the opportunity to experience augmented reality within the world around us. And there's no better place to host our first event than Columbia University, one of the world's most prestigious research universities that has played a pivotal role in many scientific breakthroughs. More specifically, the Columbia Laboratory of Unconventional Electronics, a group pioneering development in a wide variety of applications, including display technology, with successful commercial spinouts of companies including Chromation, Lumiode, and Radiator Labs. I want to especially thank Dr. John Kamissis, the chair of the Department of Electrical Engineering here at Columbia, president of the Society for Information Displays, and the co-founder of leading microdisplay company Lumiode, for his time in helping us plan and organize tonight's event, provide us with this incredible space, and also giving us access to our sponsors, which are the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Society for Information Displays, IEEE Electronic Devices Society, New York chapter, and the Columbia University Department of Electrical Engineering. So thank you, John. This event wouldn't be possible without you. I also want to thank Elise Listener, who may be helping people in. She is the Events and External Relations Manager here at Columbia School of Engineering. And thank you, Elise, for your support in organizing a lot of the logistics for tonight's event. And lastly, I want to thank my wonderful co-organizer, Barry Sepp, who's not here with us. He's actually in Arizona on an anniversary vacation with his wife, but nevertheless, I want to thank Barry, who's tuned in remote, but it might be logistically complicated to have him streaming live. But thank you, Barry, for being here. It's really amazing to have you all here. We worked really hard on putting together tonight's event, and we think you're going to love it. We have speakers joining us, including Matt Miesnieks, CEO of New York City-based Living City, Emmy Schwab, and the XR Guild New York City chapter representative, Jason Laan, a partner at Laan Labs, and Jaime Scatena, the lead manager for JR Reality, all with us tonight to share their unique perspectives, approach, and development towards bringing augmented reality as part of our everyday lives. After each presentation, we'll hold a 5-minute Q&A, so you'll get the opportunity to ask your questions. And following the presentations, we will get the opportunity to move down to the 4th floor for dessert, networking, and incredible exhibitions, where you'll have the opportunity to try out amazing technology from industry leaders and companies, including Third Eye Gen, Vario, Rayanova, and the 3D app. I hope you will get the chance to join us for that as well. It should be great. Now, it's an honor to introduce our first speaker, Matt Miesnieks. Matt is one of the industry's thought leaders through his company, building influential blog posts. He is the founder and CEO of Living Cities, and he was the co-founder and CEO of 60 AI, the leading AR cloud platform, which was his 3rd AR startup and acquired by Niantic, the company who created Pokemon Go. He also helped found Super Ventures, built AR system prototypes at Samsung, and had a long executive and technical career in mobile software infrastructure before jumping into AR way back in 2009. Thank you, Matt, for joining. Thanks. All right.
I think this is my laptop here. Got some slides. Let's see. Hopefully we'll hook up. All right. This one is long. Are you connected to that conference? We'll see. Excuse me, I get set up. It was working. We tested it a minute ago and it worked.
The projector is working.
Okay.
And then are you on the Zoom?
No.
Can you join the Zoom very quick? Because then you can just project your slides there.
Okay. I don't have the link.
I'll just give you the number.
Join meeting ID.
846
Yep.
947.
So 97777
829.
829.
Join. Don't join the audio. Just present your slides, and then the audio will come through the channel.
Okay. Post just to let me in. Post to let you in soon.
Okay.
Connecting.
Recording in progress.
Wow.
Yeah. Introduce yourself and then present.
She's got screen sharing disabled.
Try again.
Working?
Yep. And then,
Oh, the mic. Okay.
you can put it on. All right.
Hello. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'm Matt. I know a couple of people here, but I've been in AR a long time, like 12 years or something now, and I have just moved to New York. So as of a month ago, I'm a local now, and I'm not just visiting. So that feels pretty good. And this is a talk I gave at AWE a couple of months ago, a month or so ago, where I was talking a little bit about my new company that started, and mostly about the idea of how do you connect, the real world and the virtual world together. It doesn't really get into a product or too much specific about what we're actually doing, but more the principles behind it. And a lot of that, I wrote a blog post when we announced the company that goes into all this stuff a lot more detail, but I want to run through it quickly in these slides. And I love Q&A. So 5 minutes probably won't be enough, but I'll hang around. Anyone wants to talk more about it can get into it. So yeah, the new company is called Living Cities, and it's a logo. We really wanted to explore how do you connect a city, bring it online. And what really excited me the most about this company was a cool idea, which I will talk to, but being able to recruit some amazing co-founders to work with me. So, I've been doing AR a long time. My last company, 60 AI, we really built out from the idea of, if you want AR content to really believably exist in the real world, then your device needs to really understand the real world in 3D. And some of that would be like real-time perception as you move your device around, but a lot of it needs sort of an understanding of the world, which is kind of like a 3D map. So if you want a Pokemon to run behind your couch, you need a 3D scan of your couch. But if you want it to run into the next room, you need your whole house scanned. And if you want it to run down the street, so you need the whole neighborhood scanned. And you keep pulling that thread, and you end up with something like Google Maps or Google Earth, but in super high resolution 3D, 3D model that kind of starts to look more like a 3D game, in terms of the way you experience it more than Google Earth today. So 60 built the technology that just to go on a phone and let everyone sort of scan whatever they scan, and then pull those scans together and assemble that 3D model, because we knew that it wasn't going to be Google backpacks or Google Street View coming into your home and scanning your living room, or into your company and scanning your production line. It was going to need to be done by us. We would have to crowdsource that data and manage it privately and all that sort of stuff. So that was kind of a cool idea. It really caught on. All the big platforms are building out that sort of, we call it AR Cloud, but they've all got different names. And Niantic acquired 16 and put it into Pokemon Go and all their other products and build their own map so that Pokestops would be very accurately placed and Pokemon would be believable of all the other games. You know, the Lightship platform is basically my old company. And this one is really thinking what comes after that. Like when all these, when Apple, Google, Niantic, everyone else builds these next generation maps of the world, what do you do with them? Like, it's not just going to be blue lines from point A to point B or a little peg man, sitting there showing you location. And we basically started the company to explore that idea. How do you bring a city to life that's a virtual copy of a real city, but that is also aligned perfectly with the real city. So the point in real space corresponds to a point in virtual space, and you can start merging those two things together. So when you think, when we thought about that, I'd been talking with John, who I'd known for years, and he's been working with similar ideas at Magic League, and he sort of developed a lot of Magic First thinking and ILM before that. And his claim to fame is he invented all the special effects in the Matrix films, bullet time, all that sort of thing. And so, we try not to say that we're building the Matrix in the new company, but we sort of get a bit close sometimes. He's always reminding me, like, Wachowski's told that story as a warning, not as a how-to. So it's sort of, technically there's a lot of similarities. We're doing it for real. And Dennis, I don't know, I assume a lot of people here know who Dennis is, but he co-founded Foursquare. He spent his last 20 years of his life trying to work on how does software change the way we interact with the real world, our offline lives. And he doesn't have an AR background, but that idea of like our actual life and software changing the behaviors, something he's lived and breathed for 20 years. And he's probably the only person on earth who's built a location-based social product that's having a success. And as we got together, we realized that all of us have been thinking about exactly the same problem, but from three different perspectives. Dennis from the social use case point of view, John from a lot of the creative experience and what it would feel like, and me from the technology side. And so we decided to get together and pursue this idea. And that's kind of where the new company came from. And one of the most fascinating, I guess, aspects of this idea, and this is what I called my blog, is this idea that reality is scarce and the metaverse or online is infinitely abundant. And by reality being scarce, it's a big world and there's plenty of space and many things to do. But what I kind of mean is only one thing can exist in one place at one time. In the real world. But if you've got an online world, you can have infinite things all in one place, all at the same time. And sort of this infinite abundance of places online. And the connection between those two concepts, like the scarcity of reality and the abundance of online, that's where we think there's a lot of interesting opportunities, interesting use cases. And that's kind of what the main thing we're exploring in cities. How do you have an online place that could have 1 million people in it, but it also corresponds to a real place that only has a handful of people in it. And how do those communities start interacting and doing everything from entertaining, communicating, commerce, every other use case out of it. So the thinking, as we sort of thought about this problem, we really had to think about reality. The online part is actually the easy part. We really have to think about what makes real places special. Why do they matter? And the thing that we realized was, and this is probably my biggest miss in the industry, I've been working on this space, I've always been thinking about world-facing media. How do you capture the world and the things in the world? And completely missed like the most successful layout products that have existed so far, which are the face filters and lenses from Snap and Instagram. And in hindsight, of course, it's obvious that people are the most important thing, but we like ourselves, we like other people more than like places. And with that thinking, why do places matter? And it's really that it's places, we don't exist independent of a place. if I go from this room to my living room at home, if I go out to a bar later, if I'm in an office, I'm kind of a slightly different person in each of those places. So where we are really has an influence on who we are in that moment. And so we really wanted to explore that aspect of places, and we didn't really come up with 9. We just came up with a whole bunch of good ideas and then counted how many we had. Turned out to be 9. And so the first idea is that reality is scarce. I touched on that earlier. Sort of recognizing that and acknowledging it is kind of the fundamental fulcrum that we're trying to explore. So people are the killer app. Like I just mentioned, it's really everything we do needs to be about people and how do you express yourself, how do you connect, how do you communicate, and what are the new sort of modalities for communicating when you are, like if I'm standing here and it could be a virtual avatar right here next to me. How do I interact with that person? It's a real person in real time, in real life. So no one's ever done that before to the best of our knowledge, and we don't really know what we're doing. So we're kind of exploring it and testing a whole bunch of ideas. Then the other aspect that we realized, and we learned this from 6D, where we were scanning the world, building these models of the world. And we're capturing the geometry and the textures and what these places look like. But they kind of felt a bit empty, a bit dead. They weren't alive. And there's this concept called the spirit of place. We didn't invent this concept. It's been around a long time, but it's the idea of what is the feeling, what is that life that a place has. And we've realized that is what's important. So somehow, our success, I think, as a company is going to be based on how can we unlock this idea of the spirit of a place and replicate that in an online way, that when you go there virtually, you feel like that you're there. It doesn't just look like you're there. And that was kind of a fundamental thing. This first point about the law that you built in. I don't know how many people have gone to like metaverse products like Facebook Horizon or Rec Room or any of those sorts of things. Again, they feel a bit like our stands. They feel kind of sterile or a bit empty, a bit dead. And the reason, like John pointed this out to me, and that when you, the world building, the world building as a concept, whether you're writing a novel, making a film, making a video game, whatever you're doing, you need to invent a whole world. And I use the example of Lord of the Rings, where Tolkien spent far longer, coming up with the idea for Middle Earth, the maps, the history, the culture, the different races, the way they communicate, the way they sing, and all this sort of world building that went into it. And the plot itself was pretty simple. It's just like a journey to throw a ring in. So that world building is really hard, and creatives rarely get it right. You can think of, there's not that many sort of big properties that have built a world that's really been lasting IP for a long time. So it's the Star Wars, it's the Matrix, it's the Pokemon, those sorts of things. So building that from scratch is a really, really difficult thing to create, even if technically it's not that hard. So, but when you're looking at the real world, you kind of get all of that for free. If we go to a place in reality, you have hundreds of thousands of years of history. It's got the culture that's built into it. It's got the way people dress, the way they talk, the music they listen to, the sort of businesses that are there, the things they do for fun. You get all of this world building, just built in, if you can replicate it, if you kind of bring it online. And we felt that was really key, and felt that that was something that, again, was going to unlock the idea of a virtual copy of a real place would be far more engaging, far more interesting than building something from scratch and trying to create that world ourselves. Next one, we talk about communication, social, self-expression. They're all the same thing. There's companies that are communication companies, your carrier, your cell phone thing, WhatsApp, all those sorts of companies. Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, call themselves social companies. And then there's all the different ways we express ourselves. But all of that stuff really is the same use case. It's like, how do I express something about me to you? Whether that's in words, in interpretive dance, in whatever it is, it's all about that communication back and forth. And that is the use case we want to start with. You know, we're not thinking about how do you build a game, how do you put them on in a place. We're not thinking about how do you do, you know, e-commerce and buy and sell. We're really thinking about, if I'm virtually in a place and you're physically in a place, how do we actually express ourselves? The new, you know, technologies and tools and interfaces that some of these new devices are going to let us have. And on that, like, it's a great point for an AR meetup. AR is the wrong technology for this. And I say that as a startup founder. Not, if you're in a big company and you've got, like, you can sort of invest in AR over a 5 to 10 year period, then great, you know, pursue AR. If you want to be a startup founder and you want to build a product that gets you like your 18 months to your next round of funding and gets enough growth, there just isn't really a market right now. There's no distribution about this. So although what we're building is certainly ready for AR and with VR, we are entirely focused on phones, tablets, you know, browsers as, you know, a 2D interface to a 3D environment. And that's, you know, that's just a reality that I've made that mistake, you know, several times in my career. You know, 6D was, we got the timing kind of just right because we're doing very deep technology, but I still think that, you know, if you really are thinking about building a product and you're interested in AR, figure out how your product can be successful without any AR and how AR might just be a feature that enhances it. So that when Apple releases their glasses, you're ready for it. You don't want to call them a foot, but you're not dependent on if they decide to wait another year. The next bits are, you know, reality is dynamic and alive. We call the company Living Cities for a reason. Facebook's work on their maps, they call them live maps. What that means is, you know, you can't have these static captures of places. You need to somehow capture what's going on live, right there and then, as much as possible. You know, that's everything from like getting the weather and the time of day and sunlight right, seasons, to actually what people are there, what vehicles are there. Really, as much information, as many sensors as you can pull in to sort of bring that place to life so that it feels alive. That's like a new area of technology that's still kind of being explored and something we're trying to, you know, experiment with and learn from as to what actually gives you that feeling, what sensors, what input makes that work without, you know, tripping over into like surveilling everybody all the time. And then, you know, Dennis pushes on this. He's got a line that says, get on the internet or get off the internet, you know, which is a big thing in Foursquare. It wasn't an app that was designed to suck you in, you spend all your time in Foursquare, you use it, and then you find where your friends are and you go and have fun. We tend to think the same way. You know, we don't want to do the Matrix where everyone's just at home with their VR headset on and it's virtual. We want to find ways that actually encourage you to go physically to places that are interesting and find the reasons to go there. And we want our product to be the case of, if you can't get there, how do you experience it? You know, if you're unable to get there, but you should sort of still feel like you're missing out on something. You know, it will be better if you're there physically. And then the last bit, there's this term that, you know, gets thrown around a lot, the mirror world, you know, digital twins. And what they imply is that the virtual is an exact copy of the real, like it's pixel perfect, exactly right. That's, you know, technically impossible to achieve. You can't get every blade of grass, you know, and all that sort of stuff. And we tend to think of them as reflections in the broad sense of what a reflection is. And that could be, in some cases, as lifelike as you can get it, as perfect as you get it. But reflections could be like a funhouse mirror. It could be a reflection of a pond with some ripples. It could be anything from like the literal to the very impressionistic. And we sort of don't think it's digital twins. It's more like digital siblings. You know, they're kind of similar. You can tell they're related, but they're not exactly the same. And that creative space like opens up a lot of opportunity to change the way places feel, what they're used for people to put their own spin, their own interpretation on, you know, on an actual place. And that is it. We have a Discord, we have a Twitter. Love to chat, you know, follow along on any of the stuff if you want to sort of get, you know, we're going to start, I guess in a month or so, start leaking some hints of what our product is and showing some little tidbits and stuff, looking for some early user testers. If you're here in New York, particularly downtown New York, that'll be great because there's the first location we're starting with is in downtown New York, so you have the chance to actually be physically in the place. But yeah, stay in touch. I will stop there and ask questions. Everyone's going.
What are some of the aspects of physical locations that you focus on when you're exploring making your design scene?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we are focusing on places that are kind of highly engaging, that have a lot of real life social activity going on there. We wanted somewhere public. We didn't want to have to go and ask, for permission and negotiate a deal, for something new. And we wanted to really constrain the geography. It wasn't a giant place, and we wanted someone that was kind of reasonably recognizable, globally. So, on that notice, we haven't really shared this, but we're starting with Washington Square Park because that's just a crazy place, and there's enough going on there in the real world that sort of connect that up into the virtual world that should be entertaining for. Yeah, but there's lots of other, John's reached out to places like Disneyland and those sort of, could be the idea of a public town square.
Could you maybe briefly run through your primary rationale for, when you advise to people looking towards a startup that the answer isn't an $80 company? Is that simply just because the market won't bear for it, or is it because you have to do the innovation curve?
There's a startup, you generally raise money in like 80-a-month things. And I'm assuming you're doing a product-based startup and you're probably doing a consumer startup. You can do an agency, you can do an enterprise product where you're almost consulting in a way. If you're doing consumer, there just isn't. So the use case of holding your phone up and looking through it just it's a non-starter. It's dead. If you're banking on that, no one will use your app twice. You might have enough hype to get people to try it out once, but they won't twice. And so then you're kind of dependent on some sort of headset coming along, or something using that through pass through on the phone as some sort of novelty to get people in. But my beliefs around when will there be a big enough volume of devices to support a consumer growth curve is longer than a startup runway. So that's if you really want to do it, then do it, but just don't expect to have 1 million customers. Build your plan around a few thousand customers. Anyone else? Yep.
Your third principle said something about the spirit not being in the geometry. Wouldn't you say that it is in the people as much as in the geometry? I mean, I know Pythagoras would say
Yes,
is in the geometry.
The shape, I mean, that's the architecture of a place can affect its feel, definitely, but it's all of that together. It's the people, the people are affected by the place is affected by the people, and it needs to be live and living, audio, climate, and all that stuff sort of comes into it. Whereas up to now, all of these 3D mapping products have been just rough geometry, and it's kind of static. So.
Right. I mean, I guess where I'm getting at specifically is that when the geometry misses, that's when you lose people. But if you can improve technically the mapping to the real world, then you get out of that uncanny valley.
Yeah, very much. And this is something we, again, John's input and my input, the potential to do photoreal, models and serve them up with a regular engineering team to regular devices is possible now. It wasn't possible a year ago. Unreal Engine 5, NVIDIA's Omniverse, all of the nerve computer vision stuff has completely changed what's possible for a consumer user experience in terms of visual fidelity and accuracy. And we're literally doing exactly the way John built sets for Matrix that we're publishing to iPhones. So same. It's not like some downgraded way of capturing the place.
It helps that phones have a lot of cameras.
That's
Have you prioritized between indoor spaces and outdoor? Like the museum versus the park?
indoor spaces are usually privately owned to some degree, and so we would have needed to negotiate access and negotiate some deal, and that's that was a hassle we didn't want to go through. This first, this Washington Square Park experience, although we're launching that as a product, we certainly see it as a sales tool as well. Like we can then go to other locations that are privately owned, that maybe have access to a whole bunch of different cameras and sensors and things that you don't get in a public space. And we needed to have that show, not tell, before we tried that. We're going to want to partner eventually with like mapping companies to give us a lot of a global scale for that and build that sort of interaction layer on top. So that was how it was. Yep.
Is capturing the spirit of the place, like compared to capturing like a sense of like multiplayer presence? Or similar?
Yeah, same thing. Like we've got a demo up and running, and we've had like, if you go into it by yourself, it's kind of cool to look around. You get bored, like you need, like I said, that people being killer app. Like as soon as someone else shows up, it's just like, okay, this is great. And if someone shows up who's physically in the place, it's like better again. So we're getting that. I think the multiplayer on the end term is absolutely essential. That's a good question. We've just gone for as high fidelity as we could possibly get, and then we'll start ratcheting it back to see how far we can get away with it. At the start, we've just gone all out and done it as good as we can. Yeah.
How are you accounting for anybody, I guess, with disabilities? Also, when you think about the spirit, right? It's also smells and also the senses. Are you thinking about trying to incorporate?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's figured out how to bring smells online yet.
But in the essence of it, maybe.
I know. It's always going to be. It's why kind of we talk about reflections being not that perfect copy. It somehow needs to get the feeling, if not the literal, every possible sense. So, if we fail as a company, it'll probably be because it turns out that you need more than can be done. And we've got that bit wrong. But that's a bet that we're making, is that we can make it good enough, even though it's a partial sensory experience.
One more question.
Sure. That's one. Yep.
Since she mentioned this smell, are you incorporating audio in the experience?
Yeah. Spatial audio is going to be part of it. And again, it's one of those things that you can't quite. I mean, you can get real time audio, but you've got to like install microphones, so you can't do that in Washington. So there's going to be some like capture that we do that then kind of loop it in the background to get it close. But if you went to Disneyland, you probably could get real-time microphones everywhere. So a lot of what's going to be possible in terms of the amount of input, like sensory input you can bring, is going to depend on the place and what's legal and what's.
The AR depends on the real to become more real.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm going to be around, so come and grab me afterwards if you've got more questions. Happy to chat. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Next up, we have Emmy Schwab. Emmy's a Brooklyn-based artist, strategist, and ethicist. They currently serve as head of people and culture at VR Workout, an exercise application for virtual reality, as well as a strategist for Stardust XR, a Linux display server for XR, a founding member of the New York chapter of the XR Guild, as well as the founder and acting president of the New York Cybernetic Society. Emmy holds degrees in both English literature and classical studies from Rutgers University. Thank you, Emmy.
How's it going? I didn't know he was going to read the entire thing before I got up here. I thought it was going to be on like a piece of paper or something. Here's a piece of paper. Okay. XR, AR, VR. What is it? You mentioned smelling in VR. I was at the same conference, AWE, and I tried on the OVR smell box. That's not the name that they went to market with. It's just what I have it in my head as, and yeah, you can smell in VR. Pretty much if you can think of it, it's probably being worked on in XR, AR, VR, MR, A, B, C, D, right? I'm from the XR Guild, or I'm a member of the XR Guild, founding member, XR Guild, New York City chapter. How many people have heard of XR Guild before? How many people want to do public relations for XR Guild? There we go. So XR Guild is a group of people who operate by ethical principles, which I will get into. I have it right here on the sheet. John brought up Pythagoras. I was thinking about Pythagoras. I don't know as much about him. I know he had a formula to help me figure stuff out about triangles at one point. But I do know he was Ionian, if I remember. So what's happening? Okay. All right. So I want to pivot to another province, I guess, or whatever it was, which is Ichia, right? You have Athens and you have Socrates. And Socrates sort of described himself as a little insect sometimes, where he would go to the marketplace and he would just buzz in people's ears and he would be like, don't forget about morals and love and people and all this stuff. He did that and it worked out really well for him. It didn't actually. He was actually executed for that. Am I making the comparison of Socrates to XR Guild? Maybe a little bit, I don't know. XR. So my name is Emmy. I'm an artist. I'm all the stuff that Andy mentioned, and thank you so much, Andy, for inviting me here. You know, what is XR Guild? Okay, so what is XR, right? We talk about that all the time. What is it? What's the word association game? What is XR? What is involved in XR? Does anybody know? AR, VR? Spatial computing, love that, spatial computing. But anything else?
3D avatars.
3D avatars. What else? What else is going on in XR? I feel like it's a lot of stuff.
Pass through.
Pass through. What about on the data side? What's going on with XR?
Nobody knows.
What?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Okay. Yes, that's true. So XR, we've got a few different things, which like it all sounds like it's all in the mix for XR. And then we've got like, what is a guild? What is a guild? I was actually on my way here and I realized I don't know what a guild is. So I Googled it. I searched it on a search browser. The first thing I got is a medieval association of craftsmen or merchants often having considerable power. And I was like, that doesn't sound like it. I don't think you're going to go with that. The second one is an association of people for mutual aid or the pursuit of a common goal, right? So the XR Guild is an association of professionals in the field of XR, spatial computing, metaverse, and Web3 and related who support a common set of principles, right? I'm just going to read them. Principles. Every person matters. Freedom requires mutual tolerance and respect. Freedom and privacy are inseparable human rights. We seek to teach what we know and to increase dialogue, understanding, and learning. Metaverse XR hardware and software are for everyone. No individual, company, or country should own or control the metaverse. Metaverse XR hardware and software should benefit end users and their communities. 9. I thought it was 1 through 8. 9. We are responsible for our individual decisions and collectively for the field. 10. Design patterns that trick, confuse, or exploit people should be exposed and redesigned for safety. 11. We have a duty to help mitigate serious problems wherever possible. 12. All guild members adhere to these principles. So those are the principles of the XR Guild, and these principles are not beyond reproach. And I have no interest in being part of an organization that considers themselves to be beyond reproach, that doesn't listen to criticism, that doesn't take that criticism to heart, and doesn't respond to that criticism in a collaborative and thoughtful way. Now, in my personal experience, XR Guild is not that type of organization. And I've looked. Okay. Every time I go to one of these things, I'm on LinkedIn and Crunchbase. First things first, follow the money. Elitism, exploitation, backroom deals, ethics washing. I haven't seen it at the XR Guild yet. And that is why I'm still there. So if you want to join us, we want to build an equitable, interoperable, fair, non-traumatic, non-exploitative, not extraction-based, non-scarcity-based metaverse. And that's why we show up with stuff like this. So I'm just going to write our website down. Yeah,
Well, this
is why we need AR glasses. XR Guild. It's not even the right website. This is why it's xrguild.org. Not just .org. But we are a 501c3, so we are an org. And we started a New York City chapter. We're here for you. We're here for each other. So if you're interested, please come talk to me afterwards. And I would love to have a chat. Thank you. There's a whole back of stuff that I was going to say too, but I forgot to turn over the sheet of paper. But is there time for questions?
Please, go ahead.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Not yet. So there's events, and we want to be present at events, and we want to do events of our own. But for now, we like that there are events, and we like to be here to be that little insect and have fun. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Somebody.
Is there a Discord or other place?
Yes, the Discord server is on the website. You can find it xrguild.org. And just so you know, like before XR Guild, I didn't work a day in XR. The first thing I knew about XR was that it scared the shit out of me. Okay. And they said, hey, do you care about ethics? Are you interested in XR? Which, to be fair, XR is cool. Okay. Hang out here and see what you see. And I stuck around. I went to AWE just to hang out with those guys. And before I knew it, I was sitting at a table with people who've been working in the industry 10, 15, 20 years, right? Talking about biometrics, interoperability, like avatars that you can go from place to place and not have to quit one thing and open the other, all of this stuff just because I gave a dang about it. And the career stuff, it came a little later. But because I was able to go there and people listened to me, helped me orient myself in space, and mentorship and menteeship is something that we value very highly.
Are there dues for me?
There are no dues or fees. We are a nonprofit, so we do accept donations, but any of the bookkeeping, we want to be transparent about it. But we're still early stages, so all the governance stuff is being worked out. And if you want to join the Discord, you can participate in those conversations today.
I have a question. How do you find the interrelation between XR Guild and VR Workout?
I work at VR Workout. I don't see a problem. But if I do, then we can talk about it. That's the other thing is for XR Guild, we don't judge anybody, right? Anybody from this company or that company can go to XR Guild anonymously, or just reach out to someone they know is in the XR Guild and say, I'm dealing with an ethical dilemma and I need to talk about it to someone. I did that and I got the advice that I needed to make the decision that I felt comfortable with. I think VR Workout is ethical.
My question is on your definition of ethical. It's a very interesting field you're in, and I love the word guild, which has a sense of camaraderie and the morality you talked about. So I'm curious, what do you see as the number one factor to perhaps jeopardize that stance in being right?
Are you talking about jeopardizing ethics as a corporate practice or for the practice of the guild itself?
For the guild itself.
I would say it's legacy systems and legacy people. And what we have to protect against that is a voting system and spirit of rotation, where if someone's doing something that I personally think is unethical, I will make it known on the Discord server. And I'll call to a vote. There's a guy in the XR Guild who I love, he's awesome. But if he does something that's unethical, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to bring him to the guild first, right? I'm going to call it to a vote. And if I get any sort of carrot or stick in order to try to slow that down, I'm going to talk about that elsewhere. But I don't think that's going to happen because I haven't had any evidence of that yet. And that's why I like being in the guild. Yes.
Would have been some ethical percent.
Say again?
Would have been some ethical percent.
And what's your reference in the past?
What are the ethical concerns we've had in the past?
To address.
To address, you're talking on a case-by-case basis? I would say we should talk after. Seriously, please, let's talk after.
Are you planning to become a DAO?
I have no idea.
Are you a DAO or you're?
I know what a DAO stands for in terms of an acronym, but other than that, I'm not sure. We are on Discord, but in terms of a decentralized autonomous organization, I don't know enough about it. But if that's something that you're interested in, you can please come join us and start that conversation, because that's what we need. We need fresh voices. We need fresh perspectives in all things. So I appreciate the question and I would love to learn more. So please, let's talk afterwards.
Thank you, Emmy. Next up, I'm really excited to have Jason Laan here, the co-founder and partner of Laan Labs, along with his brother, starting his career in chemical engineering. He has a rich background spanning many professions, from the internet to film, TV, to financial services and the apparel industry. His diverse interests, skills, and experiences have involved him in a wide spectrum of projects, delivering solutions along the way for Nike, Google, Product, Twitter, and Vimeo, among others. Thank you, Jason, for being here with us tonight.
Shout out to Andy. He came to my class I teach at NYU and gave an amazing talk on what's it like to work in the AR industry to a bunch of students. It was really inspiring. I'm hoping to get it put online. It was a really interesting journey. Great presentation on blind. All right, cool. As I'm here to talk something a little more practical today. We're going to talk about something, a term, it's not really an accepted term, it's called 3D semantic geometry. We're talking about capturing it, why it's important, why it's super interesting for everyone that's in the AR space. Okay. And you know, what that means to you both as like AR developers and AR consumers. So I'm going to try to run through this fairly quickly so we have more time for Q&A. As most of you know, like kind of LiDAR changed the game. You know, what Matt's company was doing, it made really this mesh capture really interesting. You know, they were taking a lot of different meshes and turning them into worlds, so you get great gameplay. But a lot of other people like us and like Polycam and Metascan and some other companies, we're using it to do 3D captures. There's actually a company here, the 3D app, that is doing something very similar. But what's going on right now is there's kind of like two different kind of like paradigms. We have mesh capture. Mesh capture allows us to do things like, you know, have a Pokemon Pikachu, you know, run behind something, but it's not structured. It's very hard to understand how to use it. And that's created a lot of challenges in the AR and the VR space. And what's going on right now is we have like this semantic geometry capture. And I'll get into why that's important, but first I'm going to take you on a little journey of how we got to this point and what that's going to mean for both developers and kind of, you know, these experiences you're going to be having. So what about semantic geometry capture is important? It's like, we want something that's simple. You know, like a room like this, we want to be able to scan it. We want to know that it has 4 walls, with a ceiling, where's the door, are there windows? We need it to be accurate. We want to have inventory, like, are there tables in here? Are there places I can sit? We need it relocalizable. I need to know that I'm back in the space and I need to be able to share with people to, you know, especially in these different AR experiences people create, you know, I want that to go across apps. So again, why is this so important? You know, it's about creating virtual spaces. This, you know, carries on to gaming and entertainment. We're seeing it in obviously real estate, industrial applications. You know, we do a lot of projects that are like chemical plants of like where different things are stored. You know, there was a great developer that showed off, it was almost like 2 years ago. This guy, Greg, you know, he recreated his apartment in Oculus Quest. And that just shows you why you want to bring these spaces, you know, into your applications to make, you know, gaming and a lot more useful. So what most people have been doing for now to kind of capture this geometry is kind of this AR tagging approach. There's a bunch of apps out there. We're one of them. You know, probably the most successful one is called Magic Plan. As you go around and you kind of tag, you know, corners and create walls. This guy, Bob, made a great demo for the Oculus Quest where, you know, you could build a room and you could bring that into your Quest experience. Follow him on Twitter. Another technique that's been really popular is you scan something, you have a mesh, and then you extract that geometry out of it. It's very complicated, it's time consuming, it's something you have to do after the scan. Obviously, there's a lot of machine learning techniques. This means pushing stuff up onto the cloud, but you're really just not understanding the space you're in until like after you've done, you know, tried to capture it. But again, I don't mean to plug Apple, but this, to me, this is a really big game changer what Apple's doing. It's very simple. I wish I had thought of it. We've been trying to do it ourselves for a while. But what it means, as you scan a room, you're immediately starting to semantically understand what's in this room. You know, it's a real first principle thinking. I don't like to use that term because Elon kind of tries to own it. But what's super exciting about it is Apple's opened this up as an SDK, and that means Google's going to do it and a lot of other people. But what you're going to see is just more and more apps in the AR and the VR space really take and make this useful. Sorry to disagree with you, Matt. I think AR is actually really in a moment. It's not the best way to experience because you're looking through a little portal, but you know, here we see something Shopify made to like clean your room. I think there's a lot of opportunity, you know, until Apple comes out with this glasses, but you know, AR is really coming into its own. You know, here's another company that's done a great little demo of something that's out, you know, it's called 5D Planner, where you can immediately like scan a room and look at like what all the places are. So So something obviously we're playing with ourselves. If you have iOS 16 on an app, you can download this. You can scan a room, apply textures to it. I mean, we're going to be one of many. But this is exciting. You can really capture a space and you can use it for your gaming experience. You can use it for, like maybe you have an energy planning, or maybe you're doing virtual training, but it's really taking a lot of kind of the work out of understanding spaces, and then you can focus in on the applications. It still has a long way to go though, but it's exciting. I mean, like here you have a very simple floor plan. It still has accuracy issues. It's only general details. There's not great object hierarchy, but there's a lot of room for extension, immediately figuring out meshes, applying known CAD models, into spaces. This is a project we just finished for a storage company. It's not a very complicated room here, but immediately you've got geometries of room, then it auto fills it with the objects you want to store. And where this is going is like you're going to see more robust. This has been done with a high precision scanner, but it's giving you the idea of taking these really high resolution and high fidelity scans and combining them to create much more extensible experiences. Again, we've made 1 million apps, we've made 1 million failures, we do a lot of consulting. So, why I'm here is more to talk about like what technologies I find interesting, how that's empowering the AR world and the VR world, and how that's making it a lot more accessible for like, you have an idea, you don't need to worry about the underlying technology. You just want to build something that reaches consumers or reaches a business and serves that market niche. Again, from the intro, the company's just really me and my brother. We've both been to the startup ringer 1 million times and kind of decided to stay small. And again, if you feel like reaching out to us, here's all our contact information. I'm based here in New York. My brother's in New Orleans. We travel a lot, usually at most of the conferences. So love to open it up for questions if anybody has anything.
I noticed in all the demos, the furniture's all against the wall, because when you use these LiDAR scanners, unless you scan full size of the furniture in the middle of the room, then your furniture is like one-sided. Are you working on something like that?
I mean, us and everybody are working on that. I mean, Matt was talking about, things like Nerf. That's been really great because, Nerf has been very good at like guessing visually where things are. So you may not understand the geometry completely, but you can get really high fidelity visual experiences from it. I mean, that's a problem that us and 1 million other people are working on, like how to figure out where geometry, we can assume geometries and also make visual assumptions of things. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I found it very interesting that Matt brought up the AR on the outdoors,
Uh-huh.
public spaces. You're bringing the AR on private spaces. How do you deal with privacy? You're scanning your room and putting it up in the cloud. How do you do that?
Not necessarily. Like, most of the apps, you don't have to put it up in the cloud if you don't want to. I mean, that's what's been so nice about these devices that have depth sensors in them now, is you can just keep that on your device. And if you choose to share it, then you can publish to the cloud. And I was trying to cover a little bit of that there, is that what I think is so exciting about this is you can capture this geometry before you have to send it to the cloud to do machine learning, do all these things. But, I can turn off my internet connection, scan this room, and I'll have a very simple geometry that I could easily bring into like a gaming platform to, turn that into like a steampunk experience where this table, is something else completely, or I know there's something I can sit on, or I know there's something where I can place a book, or something like that. But, there's so much more available for us to do things on the cloud and also just do on our devices. Any other questions? Sure.
How's the scanning for outdoor spaces?
What I'm covering right now doesn't really work because it's really it's optimized for, 4 rooms, I mean, 4 walls. Outdoor spacing, you can really capture meshes. I mean, what Matt's company was doing with 60, they're capturing those meshes and resharing them back for gameplay and things like that. What we focus on are usually more one-off captures, or like going out and scanning a boulder or a statue or something like that.
So
But you-
you do individual objects as well.
Mhm.
not just spaces.
So, I mean, you can create these individual scans, or you can, participate in platforms that do, large scale scans and combine them together and then relocalize it. We have another semi-celebrity in the audience, Ryan from Phantasma, that they built a platform where they went out and where they were scanning the world, to also do the same kind of capture. Now they're using it for another practical application. Is it okay if I talk about it? So now they're scanning the world to tie that into scooters. So your scooter knows where you can localize with these scans. So you know where you are. You can tell you're riding on a sidewalk and you shouldn't be, things like that. So this technology is, really has broad applications.
What about creating semantic geometry for non-rigid structures?
That is a problem a lot of people are working on, and that's hard. I mean, we had been working on this, the first slide I showed you was kind of our approach to it. We were doing this afterwards.
First slide, I guess I saw some of those.
So, again, we're just looking for the geometry that matters to you. We've written a lot of computer vision applications that are, usually for a company where they're interested in very particular things. So it's hard for Apple to make something that's going to cover all the bases, but it gives a starting point, and then you can write your own machine learning algorithms to do this extraction. But it's also kind of important to say the real time is just really a breakthrough, because just kind of understanding your space so quickly and being able to work with it, locally without publishing it to the cloud it's really interesting for what you can do with AR applications. And I think you're going to start to see, like that Shopify demo, we consulted for them 3 years ago on a project that they were just this is dumb, we'll never be able to do this. But now they have a space where you can immediately create this room that, you can start decorating with, things right off their e-commerce platform, and you can do it really quickly. You can do it with privacy concerns. And I think that's just going to be another breakthrough. I think Apple did this for their VR glasses. It's a key step in, you see in the Quest and you turn on, or magically if you've got to capture these rooms, but it's just, really advancing the technology. Yes.
Is that you presented our sort of tools to allow a common person,
Yes.
whether they can to do things that are otherwise right now considered roles. So I'm curious about your view of future development for your closing the gap between those who have access to technology and those who don't. So I'm actually also with VR Workout. We're trying to see how we can provide exercise access to people that have access to a gym. So I was just curious, what do you see the world as we go? Is the gap going to be bigger or smaller? And how can these, what's the priority of this application?
I think it's a really big thought question, because all of this is requiring technology, and very expensive technology. I'm still shocked when the iPhones come out and how much they cost, and then you obviously have the pros with the depth sensor. So I do think that gap is constantly growing, and that is a huge social issue, how to make this technology more accessible to people. Is that going to be, devices that people can borrow? Is it going to be the government subsidizing it? I don't know, but it's an important thing to think about. Done?
Take one more.
One last question.
I'll ask one.
All right.
Are you able to customize the scanning process at all to match?
So, again, that's what really Apple, and I really hate that I'm plugging Apple so much, but this visualization is something you can completely customize. And, again, you can use it out of the box. It just really wanted to show off something that's kind of making AR a lot more accessible to a lot more people. And kind of share my perspective on a technology. And I know some of you are developers, some of you are just interested in the space. So, how this is going to kind of advance the common cause.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, Jason. That was awesome. Next up, oh, it's not connecting. We have Jaime Scatena here, an award-winning Brazilian photographer specializing in travel architecture and street photography. Jaime is currently living and working in New York working for the French artist JR and the Inside Out project, which is a fascinating project, and their latest augmented reality app created with Niantic and Superblue. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
Thank you. A little different here. It's going to bring a little art into AR. This app that we've been developing, it's already in beta. It's about to come out in the App Store and in Google Store, and it should be available for everyone to play. And let's show us.
Yeah, sorry, it's we're having some technical difficulties, which will be resolved in a minute. It's not plugging in. Jason, could we use your Mac for this?
Wait, yeah,
Sorry. No, it's not plugging into mine. Thank you. I'll just forward it. Yeah, no, I'll just send it to. Thank you. Sorry.
There we go.
You need to mail it, or you-
Oh,
There we go.
no,
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, thank you. All right, cool. We're good. We're rolling. Thanks, Jason. This is great. Oh, is this a public link? Yeah, right.
There we go.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay.
That's like the last one. So
Sorry. Sick on.
there we go. Okay. So our idea here was to create a community-based art project based in AR. I don't know if you're familiar with JR. He uses the city as his background, as his canvas. He creates large murals. He uses walls, to put his art up. So this is the wall dividing Israel and Palestine, and he posted pictures of Palestinians and Israelis side by side. He pasted in favelas in Brazil. He pasted in the ground. When you don't use the wall, you can use the ground. That's by the Flatiron building here. He pasted in a prison, inside a prison, bringing the prisoners out of the prison. And then through AR, you can actually listen to everyone's story. When you don't have a wall, he built something. So he pasted this young Mexican boy peering over the border wall with Mexico. And then in 2010, he won the TED Prize and he was granted a wish that art could change the world. So he created the Inside Out project, where anyone from anywhere in the world can stand for what they believe using portraiture. This installation we did in Times Square. That's when I started working with them. His idea, his platform is that anyone can use Inside Out to get their pictures printed and installed anywhere in the world to express identity, to celebrate places and communities, to celebrate schools. There's a school in California. They've been doing projects with us for many years. And we've been to more than 138 countries. We have not been there, but we shipped posters to more than 138 countries. And we have almost 500,000 people participating. And then the next step was to break through from the real world to the virtual world. And we started a JR reality. You have audio?
Been thinking of a way to involve much more people to share their stories across the planet. And to do this without having to use paper and glue. Reality.
Yeah,
it's a network of living rooms around the globe.
For who they are.
AR murals that take on a new life when you share your stories. Just think of it like a worldwide canvas that connects people and ideas. All you need to experience reality is a phone and a Superblue app. So I'll see you out there.
So the idea behind the JR reality was creating these murals that are anchored on a GPS location. So it stays there, right? It's not like a Pokemon thing that's only your operation and it's close to that. You're using Niantic's light ship. So we create this we use their VPS locations where we install the murals, and anyone can come and place their story with a picture and audio in the mural that exists around. So basically, you're creating these permanent spaces in 5 cities in the world: New York, London, Paris, Los Angeles, and Seattle. We're starting with those. Basically using the Pokemon scanning from Lightship, from Niantic, so people can go out and explore. So that was what Matt mentioned. Our idea is to go out, push people to go out in the real world to explore the virtual world. The presentation I'm bringing here, we use on the DevCon with Niantic, so it has a little techie side about it. We're going to talk about what we learned with this. Basically, Lightship was very easy to use out of the box. We learned a lot about navigation. People have to find these VPS locations. And we have a big learning about keeping your AR session open. That was a big breakthrough during our development. So basically, we are using the VPS locations that exist. We do a bit of quality control to see if the VPS is in good quality to be used. We are not exactly worried about the general geometry of the place, but it's more like if I say a GPS, like a pinpoint to find these places. We have a little problem because we have to show people, what's the VPS place looks like, so they can, find the mapping. And we are using a crowdsource image from each space, but a lot of their VPS locations are related to street art murals. So the VPS face changes over time, and then users will have a problem find it. Whenever you go and visit the mural for the first time, you actually position this floating mural in the space. And once it's positioned, it cannot be repositioned. So that's something that we have to deal with in the future. But basically, you go there and say, okay, it's going to look like this. No, I want it to look here, or going to go up, or going to go down. So the first person positions the mural on the VPS location. There was a lot of wayfinding that we had to use to help people find the place. It was not too difficult. We used Mapbox as mapping, and finding the location to the place, it was not too complicated to be developed. So within the app, we have a wayfinding to guide the person to the location. We realized it was very important to keep bringing the face of the location so people can find them, because it's in a corner between whatever Amsterdam and 116th, but where exactly do you need to point your device to find the location? So we keep bringing that image again and again to help find it. And we have prompts we have the arrow. So that was very interesting. We had a click when we were doing it, because maybe if you're not looking in the right place, there's an arrow that will guide you to look exactly where the mural is. And we have prompts, when the location is found, we have a prompt, but we also have a prompt when it's not found, and we create a fallback to bring people. That is a way that if you don't find the mural, you still can see your portrait over there. And the big thing that we notice is don't interrupt the AR, because our process is you go there, you find the location, and then you have to add your picture to that. So then it closes the front camera, opens the back camera, so the front camera, so you can take your picture. But we kept the AR session open. That was a breakthrough because otherwise it will have to localize again. The mural would drift. We have a lot of problems. So keeping the AR location was very important for us. And as I said, the fallback route, when you don't find the mural, you can still, put your one picture over there so you can have a little experience on how it works.
Remember you're in the street, so don't hesitate to share something of yourself, knowing that someone will pass by in an hour, in a day, in a week, and will hear your story and might get inspired to share and connect with you.
And our idea here is we create a platform that we don't know exactly how people will use. The murals can stay there and become some sort of communication between people. You post a question and then someone else come and answer that question, and you come and post a story and people continue that story. We thought about having a birthday mural where everyone on that mural is singing the happy birthday to anyone that shows up and come and see it. We don't know how people will use it. We right now have 600 beta testers. We are about to, as I said, to put up on the App Store. It's been approved already. We're just waiting for a good time to do that. And then after here, if you're interested, there are 2 locations here in the campus that you can go and visit. I started a mural here on the learner hall already, and the other one is open for anyone that wants to be the first one. Thank you. The content is not moderated when it's posted, but it can be flagged if it breaks any rules, and then we can pull it down.
How often does that happen?
With the beta testers, it has not happened yet.
Do you anticipate that happening often post beta?
Closed beta, we don't think so, but after closed beta, it's a concern. We are very strict with no branding, no marketing within the app. So these are things that we want to be worried about. We want to be about, very positive messages. So we don't want people to be free hate into it. But as people are killers of the apps, it definitely happen.
Yes, tricky.
Very tricky. And moderating is tricky because how much can you moderate speech without being infringing rights? It's complicated.
The faces only.
Yeah, the pictures are faces only. You have a map how to crop it. But after the face, you can record your voice. So there's a double content that needs to be moderated.
Back to this gap thing, so what's your business model? How are you making this available? What do people have to have?
Right now, Superblue is funding it, right? So it's an app that's free for everyone to use. There's no fees to use it. On their business model for now, you can add buy power-ups, if you say. So you can change the backdrop for something different. And you can also, actually, that's pretty interesting, you can buy a poster. So basically, you take a picture and then I want to buy this poster, and we print and ship it to you. So that's kind of the business model for now.
Sorry, any phone.
Any phone could do, lower phones will be a little slower. We do have a lot of processing happening on the phone, so the cutout for the backdrop is on the phone. So there is some barrier, as you mentioned before. There's still some barrier to very low phones. I don't think it's going to work very well.
For that question, I just wanted to say, what I see with these metaverse communities, because it's going to be a metaverse community, is that usually the community protects itself.
Right.
So if somehow you allow the interaction and let the other participants to be the ones that can say, hey, you're like, I want to flag you, or this is against our own rules, then it's, I don't know, it just feels more forward, like what we're trying to work towards, instead of having someone who's going to say, no, you're out. And the other thing that after I'm seeing all these is that, I don't know, I feel like sometimes there are so many apps. Like I'm looking at this app and I think I want to participate, that I already have over the reality in my phone that does something kind of similar. And I'm like, okay, another app. You know, I don't know, like in the future, there's gonna be a way to fuse all these in a way that we don't have to like have some things in our phone.
Yeah, what you mentioned is very interesting. First of all, the community, that's very true. And we don't monitor every post, but anyone can flag any post that's not according to what it should be. And what you said is perfect. You know, once you have the wearables, you know, other apps can interact together. And it goes with the interoperability and everything, you know, the metaverse being for everyone. So we don't know yet. Now you're tied not only to your device, but to the app that's running at that moment, right? I can't see everything that could be posted here at the same time because you're still limited to one app. So, but that's the very beginning of a very strong technology. We are very excited to see how things will develop.
I just wanted to ask about the revenue model for retail. So you mentioned that you're gonna sell power-ups.
Right.
And so I just want to know like what fraction of the current beta testers actually do consider purchasing power-ups? Do they have options for power-ups as such? And when you like make it public and you have these apps on the App Store like Play Store, what fraction of users do you anticipate to purchase these power-ups?
That's very interesting because I'm not on the business side of the app. You know, I'm interested in how people use the community. I want to see the faces. I want to tell the stories. I'm letting the super blue to worry about how it's going to be paid. You know, we're worried about let's make it happen. Let's make people join it. Let's make people connect with each other because that's something we keep talking. You know, I could have the app working on my room and I could explore without leaving my own room. But no, you have to go to a place, and most likely you might meet someone that is there on the same place to tell their story as well, and you can create a connection by being there. So I'm not very worried about the business model yet, you know, until it fails. But I'm not very worried about it. It's not going to fail. I'm not very worried about it, but it's a good point.
One more question.
So I'm interested in checking out what you put out by Learner. I tried to scan the QR code. It didn't work. What do I need to download?
Okay, I'll make sure I have the right code. We tried this, it worked, and then it didn't work. Yeah, no, I understand you. We had problem with this before, but I'll make sure I'll get the right link for you. Are you on the meetup? So I posted on the event, I posted a link to the beta testers already. Okay.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the incredible presentations. Now it's my pleasure to welcome you down to the 4th floor where we'll have dessert and open floor for networking and the opportunity to try out some incredible AR technology. I look forward to getting the chance to meet you soon.
You. Great. A lot of people online. I'm sorry for the remote part. That's it. No. Someone was asking. For you guys. Next time come here. Yeah. So, that was really fun. We'll try to host again in person. That'll be a lot of fun. And good to see a couple of you. Great to see you. Bless you people. Cool. Thank you, guys. Cool. Hopefully people will take food. Thank you, Matt. It's so good to have you. That was amazing. Really, thank you so much. That was really cool. Can't wait to get the product out there. I can only imagine, but like, I think you know, you have a very. I spent. So I was at Meta on Wednesday, last Wednesday for most of the day. And it was like, they were going with it. And they're just like, it's the whole thing. It's like, because you talk to the technology people know what to do, but it's like, what do you do with it? You need this like placemaking, story building, and all that.
Were you like Richard Newcomb's team up in?
No. I was actually at
R&D, hardware side. I'm a hardware person, so like I want to sell light sources. That's like what we're excited about. But that's the thing, you can build all the fancy shit stuff you want. There's nothing to feed it in terms of contact. No, it's good. You need both, right?
We definitely feel like we're on the same, like, in terms of the thinking about it, so for that execution.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna close out the Zoom. All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to end our